So Peter, no offence, you're a nice guy and everything, but obviously you've played for Tottenham, therefore you're the enemy. I can't look at you in any other way other than being the enemy, the mortal enemy of Arsenal fans worldwide.
A worldwide hatred, is it? Yeah, I did play for Tottenham. I started there. I used to clean David Janola's boots, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes, that was, he gave me £60 at Christmas and I blacked out the tick too much that his sponsors got onto me about it.
That's brilliant.
So, yeah, but he won Player of the Year that year and I take a lot of credit for that.
This is what I don't understand about you. You escaped from Tottenham, right? You didn't even play, I don't think, did you, for the first team? And then you left, and then something lured you back. I mean, you had a chance, you had a way out. You could have come across the road.
I felt like there was unfinished business. I was a kid there and I never made an appearance and I had to go elsewhere to make a sort of name for myself, really. And I ended up in a roundabout way. And what was so funny about it was I was a kid in the youth team. Since then I played for QPR, Portsmouth, Aston Villa. I went to Liverpool. I went back to Portsmouth.
You've been around a bit, haven't you?
I came back, and Ledley King was in the same position I left him.
I mean, you played 70, 80 games for them, right? So quite a big part of your career.
It was, yeah. And like I say, having been there as a kid and I had so many players in front of me, like top players, Les Ferdinand at the time, and a host of young players ahead of me. And I felt like I had to get out really to make a name for myself. And thankfully I came back sort of established. And I had, alongside Liverpool, probably the best times of my career were at Tottenham.
Did you not feel, though, that when you were at Tottenham, that because they haven't won the league in my lifetime, that you were just sentencing yourself to a world of misery?
I genuinely didn't. I think, honestly, it was when Ramos left, and it was Harry took over. Harry Redknapp took over, and it was a side actually in the bottom three for a little bit of the season. Harry took over and did well, and after that, we managed to qualify for the Champions League. And I think one of my best moments was scoring the goal that got us into the Champions League against Manchester City. And it was one of the best feelings I've ever had on a football pitch. The away crowd was magnificent, the goal, the feeling, everything about it. We hadn't been there for
so let me ask you
a long time.
Let me ask you a question about it. When you score a goal like that, and it's like a massive goal, that moment you've scored and you're running to the adoring fans, better than sex or not?
Oh, that was close. That, yeah. No, it genuinely was. It was. I cannot describe that feeling, and I try and.
I get it.
I do think about it, a lot, and people, Tottenham fans, do sort of tweet me or get in touch with me, and when I see that moment again, I don't think I've ever seen an away end bounce the way that did. Because then obviously there was the Champions League sort of campaign we had, and Arsenal, and being an Arsenal fan, you qualified every single year, and you were involved in big nights, and Tottenham at that time weren't. And there you getting used to it now.
The weird thing about Tottenham is, despite their abject failure to ever win the Premier League in my lifetime, the EFL Cup, they've won it 4 times.
Yeah.
And got to 4 other finals that they lost. Arsenal's record is nowhere near as good. We won it twice, haven't won it for about 26 years. Wenger never won it, he lost 3 finals. We've always had a problem with this trophy.
Tottenham have always had a bit of a heritage for cups. And obviously, I basically, when I was a kid, we used to do all the jobs. So we used to clean boots, we used to get a bus to White Hart Lane, and I used to clean the changing room, and we used to do jobs as a YTS player there. And I remember walking round, and I used to go in the trophy room, and I used to look round. And
They've got a trophy room, haven't they?
They have, and it's very
room,
interesting. Right? Well, Bill Nicholson was up on the wall. And
how big
60s.
is the Spurs? I mean, seriously, how big is their trophy room?
It's a massive room.
What are they putting in it?
But honest, genuinely, obviously the cups are a big part of Spurs' history, and the 60s obviously was the double winning year.
Danny Blanchard, yeah.
And it was, I grew up sort of, around that and looking around the place, and they've always had a good history in the cups.
As a player, obviously, people talk about the Premier League, Champions League and so on, but when you're playing at a club, Tottenham, before they've sort of become quite resurgent, or Stoke, or one of the sort of the middling or lower teams in the league, perhaps. How important does this trophy become to those teams?
It's huge, and obviously being at Stoke at the moment, the League Cup winning side is still on the walls. They haven't won the Premier League, they haven't won the First Division. The biggest trophy that we've won is the League Cup. It's a huge achievement, and those fellas are still on the walls. And what I feel is that we got to the stage when I was at Stoke that we were top 10 in the Premier League. And the fact, we were crying out for a trophy. They wanted to win something, and if we'd have won a cup like that, it would have lifted the whole, not just the club and us as players, but the whole city, because they just haven't had it since the 70s. And those players are still, we see them. They're walking around the place, right? Legends. And it's one trophy. Obviously, Arsenal, Tottenham are not bigger clubs, but more successful clubs. And I think if we'd have sort of brought this trophy home, it would have been us on the walls.
The North London derby is a pretty special event, isn't it? When you were at Tottenham, you played against Arsenal a few times. I seem to remember you beating us at our place once, and you were on that pitch in a Tottenham shirt. I
was there as a kid, and I watched a couple. And I remember the atmosphere amazing, and obviously finally playing in one. It was the game where Yunus Kabul scored in the last couple of minutes that I remember fondly, because there was a lot of times where we were on the receiving end of Arsenal. Certainly when I was there, Arsenal were the better side. There's no denying that. So when we got that, I think when the fans and when we got one over, it was a big thing. And now it's been a slight shift in my opinion.
What?
I think so.
What shift?
I feel like there's been a shift.
Have I missed something?
But
you've had 2 years.
Yeah, a couple
2
of
years where you've finished above us. You still haven't won the league.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That's very true.
We stuffed Spurs only 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right, hammered you. I mean, where's been the shift in power?
So there's definitely a shift in power. I think you'll admit that deep down. I think
I've
you
just
do
denied
know
it.
that. I think you do realise that.
I do not realise that. No.
Well,
no. What shift in power?
Tottenham are a better side than Arsenal.
What?
Yeah.
We've literally just hammered Tottenham.
Yeah, but I mean, that was one game, any given day. Tottenham will finish above Arsenal.
You want to bet?
Yes.
Well, how much?
What are you prepared to pay?
Mate, don't worry. I get footballer wages too. Don't worry about me, mate.
Okay, well, I'm game, whatever.
What, 1,000 quid?
Call it. Let's do it.
1,000 quid, right? It says Tottenham finish above you lot. You see, I think the game on the 19th is a big game because normally it wouldn't be probably the biggest game of the season for Tottenham or Arsenal, but because Arsenal beat Tottenham so badly in the league recently, I think they're going to come and really want to have a result at the Emirates in the Carabao Cup, and I think they're both going to put good teams out, and I think it could be a real blockbuster game. Actually.
It's going to be an exciting game, and I think obviously I watched that game recently, and I was so impressed with Arsenal, and I obviously haven't said that for a long time. I know you've had your doubts at times, but
I felt Wenger went on years too long.
I just feel like now it's like genuinely it feels like Arsenal are getting back to where they should be, and I think the cup game will be massive. Yeah,
I
huge.
do. Yeah, I think the result will matter to the fans. It will matter to both managers. They want this. This is got a recipe for a big game.
I think it'd be a proper game of football, and I think there's a trophy at the end of it.
Yeah.
And I think both managers need a trophy.
Just have to make sure that if Arsenal win and we draw the balls, I don't draw out Man City. Otherwise, I might as well get security.
I'm under a lot of pressure myself. I'm under a lot of pressure myself.
What's your favourite memory of the League Cup over the years, the EFL?
Yeah, it's been for me. It's like I've never. The closest I've came to winning it was when I was at Stoke, and we were. It was a semi-final away at Anfield with obviously 2 legs, and it went to penalties, and I actually missed the penalty. I remember my wife's family are Liverpool fans, and they were up in the crowd, and once I missed the penalty, the ball bounced up, and I punched the ball in anger like that, and it actually looked like I'd missed and celebrated, genuinely. And I remember Abby's dad texting me saying, "Did you celebrate missing that penalty?" And I was like, "No," but it did look that way. And honestly, that was because like I say about Stoke and winning something, that was a big chance for us.
How often do you get asked to do the robot? And the reason I ask you that is when I first met you, it was in the River Cafe restaurant in London, and I saw you there, I had a couple of drinks, and I stopped you and asked you to do the robot in the middle of the restaurant for my sons, which incredibly you did. And it was very decent of you. But I remember thinking afterwards, how many times does that poor guy get asked to do the robot? What's the truth?
It's a daily occurrence.
Every day, even now.
It is most days, yeah. And I think, I'm trying to think, it was 2000. When I did it for England, I did it twice for England, and it was 2006 both times.
So for 12 years, you've had to do one a day, 365 times a year.
And I tried to stay away from it, and because I feel like a lot of times with celebrations, like here he goes again. I don't want to be a. But it was an amazing thing that people seem to really enjoy. So it's
one final question for you. You're very good on Twitter. You're like a Twitter god. You come in with your little zingers. They get huge retweets, huge likes. How important to you is social media?
Well, it's massive. I mean, I wish I'd have got on it a lot earlier. I remember Rio saying to me when I was playing for England, so it's at least 2008-09. He said, "You need to get on this Twitter," and I was like, "No, it's not for me." And I just didn't want anything to do with any of that kind of stuff. I feel like you open yourself up for this and that, and I didn't want any part of it. And then I got to the stage recently, and I was like, it just looks like fun, and I need to get involved. And I feel the reason I did is because a lot of players are quite boring, and we played well today thanks to the fans. On to the next one, and I'm like, this is so boring.
No, you're good at it. You're good at it.
No, genuinely, I felt like no one wants. I don't want to follow someone that says that. It's boring, and so I had a laugh with it, and it seemed to do well.
Well, we'll certainly be tweeting each other after this game. I can tell you that
without a doubt.
And it won't be pretty.